if the teachers had took a strike in our town, I couldn't have blamed them. That's
The
the pressure.
pressures with that is always if you do this, you're going to lose your job. Your
Okay.
that's the pressure.
They don't try to
They
be
can
like,
say, "Oh,
yo,
you
what about
did
the
this," you know what I mean,
kids?
or
What about
whatever. We're going to terminate your contract. It's that kind of a threat to your livelihood. So it's all about that. If you do
got
this,
you?
yeah, your contract's going to be canceled
Sure.
and you're out of here. Like that's the threat. So teachers are scared. You know what I mean? They don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. So they just go along with whatever it is, which is majority of the time. And see, that's the hard part because that's what the union wants,
Hmm.
right? They want everybody to do this because the larger the numbers, the better chances we are to getting whatever we need. And most
Hmm.
of the time, people will say, "Okay, I'm with it." Oh no, I don't know about that, and they'll back out. So
Okay.
it's not as large as it needs to be. But
Got you. So
if it was,
sometimes
it
when
would
you do
impact.
have, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, my bad. And I was just saying, if everyone really stuck to it, and the numbers were massive, that would be insane. It would be
Okay.
out of here. Mm-hmm.
So you do have situations where there is a planned walkout or
Mm-hmm.
strike, and everybody don't do it.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
Okay. Because
No.
my assumption is everybody, like if the union says, "Yo, we're gonna strike," everybody's like, "Okay, cool, let's do
People
it,"
will be on board because they want to change, but then they get scared and they back out.
and they'll back
So
out.
yeah, so the numbers start to dwindle, and it's not as massive as it should be.
Okay.
So there's no real. It's an impact, but not as hard as it could be if
Okay.
everyone really did it. Yeah.
Got it. I mean, I guess that's the
Mhm.
rule in any industry when you have a strike. But
Mhm.
for whatever reason, see, I kind of look at teachers
Mhm.
the way the dock workers are.
Mhm.
It's maybe not as extreme as dock workers striking,
Yeah,
but teachers are a close second in my opinion because
I agree.
you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
for a dock worker, like as a
Yeah.
dock worker, why would you be scared of striking? I mean, the only thing with
Right.
this with striking is that I don't think you're getting paid obviously when you
Mhm.
strike.
Right.
However, when you have such an essential service,
Mm.
I feel like okay, they're not going to fire everybody for one, and then two, okay,
Mhm.
maybe you won't get what you want,
Mhm.
but at least they're gonna come to the table. We could talk about it now.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about it now because we got to get y'all back in
Yep.
immediately.
Yep.
And that's how I look at teachers.
Mhm.
You know, because if
Yep.
you lose a couple of teachers, that's one thing. But if you lose the vast majority of the main teachers in
Mhm.
the grades, I mean,
Right.
it can just destroy the whole district. You know what I'm saying? So,
That part. And that's what I'm like, oh, I wish it really would go through sometimes, everybody doing what they need to do, but it's like, no, everybody doesn't do it.
mm,
They just don't do
mm.
it.
For me, honestly, I talk about national politics,
Mhm.
national government. Obviously we in a major election right now. I pay a lot
Yeah.
more attention to the national politics and somewhat of the
Yeah.
local. But on the
Yeah.
local politics, it made me realize, you know what? I have to be tuned in a lot more to my local
Mm.
politics too,
Mhm.
because you know, like I said, the superintendent for East Orange, he just
Mhm.
came in July. He inherited a problem, but
Yeah.
I wasn't tapped into the old superintendent and the board and
Mhm.
what they were doing with the money
Right.
because when you have mismanagement of money, that's when you end up having these deficits which affects the teachers.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, so do you find yourself as a teacher, is it normal to be kind of tapped in a little bit more on the local government side per se or
It is. It kind of forces you to because you're just like, wait, well, where is this money going? You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like how are they deciding this? Like, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like you are a little more tuned in because you're like, okay, whoever's in charge of the school district, what are you doing when you're going
What
to
are y'all
these
doing?
board meetings with the state or whatever, whatever? Like it's a whole thing. Like, and then it's like, okay, you're not doing what we need you to do, so we need you to get out of here. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then they're there. People are trying to get them out, and it's hard. It's hard to get them out. These people have been in this position for years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And their contracts are
Yeah.
extended. People are pissed off about it. So it's always some kind of crazy fight going on.
Mm,
Like, I mean, even I can say for Baltimore City, I'm still new to this, school system, but from what I've heard, the superintendent, she's been there for years. And apparently the people say she's not doing what she needs to do, and they really want her out. Like, they
hmm.
really want her out. But then the other day I saw her contract's been extended. So, people are in an
And the
uproar.
superintendent is not voted in,
I'm
as
not
I know.
sure. I'm not sure if they're
Okay.
voted in.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I have to
I,
check
I
myself.
have
You
to
know what I'm
check.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit up here and pretend.
Yeah,
Like some
that part
people
I
will
don't know.
pretend.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, listen, I honestly don't know about,
Yeah.
and you know what? Quite honestly, G, here's the thing. Like a lot of times with local government,
Mhm.
because people aren't tapped in, you
Mhm.
often don't see what actually is going on. A
I
lot of times on
know.
the local level, there's a lot of
Mhm.
effery going on the local
Yeah.
level
Yeah.
that we don't even realize.
That's true. That is true.
And you're right, people will stay in their seat for
A
a
long
long
time.
time.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know what I mean? And
Mhm.
be spending money, having private drivers, all kind of
Oh,
weird things that you wouldn't think of.
exactly.
You
Exactly.
know.
And that's
So
the problem.
I don't know if you've heard of Tiffany Henyard, but Tiffany
Mm-mm.
Henyard is America's worst mayor in a town called Dalton, Illinois. And
Oh gosh, that's where you're
Dalton
from.
is, huh?
Isn't that where you're from?
That's where I'm
Dalton,
from.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I grew up in Dalton.
Yeah.
So this has been going on. She's been mayor for the past 3 years,
Oh
but
gosh.
she's a mayor, and without going into the whole thing, she's a local politician
Mhm.
who got in office, has the city, or it's called the village of Dalton. It's about 20,000 people. It's about as big
Mhm.
as East Orange. So
Mhm.
they're like, I don't know, 7 million, $8 million in deficit. Her story has made me really realize a lot too, because
Mhm.
I just did an interview with somebody I went to high school with who's tapped in because she still lives in the area and has lived there for a long
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
And local government, man, is something else. The
Mhm.
mayors,
Yeah.
the account executives,
Mhm.
the clerks. I mean,
Yeah.
the judges, the
Yep.
superintendents of schools. Like a lot of times, the people who are in those seats, man, if
Mhm.
it's not doing their thing. But again, you don't really realize it until something come up where
Yep.
it affects something like the teachers.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
what's scary.
That's true. That is
You
true.
know.
Yeah,
So
because when they're in those seats for so long, other people are in their seats for long, and everything's just flowing the way it needs to go. Nobody's paying attention. All right, we know the routine, and then
yeah,
one little hiccup, and then it's like, oh, everything's disturbed.
right.
our
Yeah,
whole our whole operation or
yeah.
whatever.
People want their
Crazy.
checks to keep coming, and
Yep, that
I
part.
mean, meaning like the board and the superintendents, they
Yeah.
want their checks to keep coming the way they come, and
Yep.
you know, sometimes people get in there and they start using those funds because it'd
Yep.
be millions of dollars coming in,
Yeah.
tax dollars, state dollars, all that stuff coming in, and if you have
Mhm.
somebody who, you know, whatever, they could be using
Mhm.
overspending or embezzling or whatever the case is. You never know until something like you said, it gets some
Right.
type of hiccup. And
Right.
you realize, like, oh, okay, now we in some type of crazy deficit. They got to let
Mhm.
go of all these teachers to balance the budget
Mm-mm-mm.
because they were like, if we don't let go of over here in these stores, they're like, if we don't let go of these 75 counselors and teachers and stuff like that,
Right.
we won't be able to make payroll by the end of the year. We have to let them go to balance the budget.
That is so irresponsible. And it is not fair to all those teachers and counselors. That's not their fault. Like,
Not at all.
somebody needs to be held accountable for this. Like, that's crazy. Or
It
at
is.
least, I don't know. I mean, that would be hard, but some kind of way, just give them to a different county. I mean, something. So they have something. Just like,
Well, they
I
said
don't
that they were
know.
going to try to. They said they were going to try to relocate them or help them transition to
Okay.
other counties. So I
Okay.
mean that's
But
cool,
still.
but still,
Right. What if that job is 30 minutes away? You didn't plan on that commute or whatever. Who knows what anyone's circumstance is. Like, that's
hmm
crazy.
yeah.
Mhm.
Federally, I think it needs to be something to increase the teachers' salaries because teachers
Agreed.
shouldn't be having to work multiple jobs, man. I
I
mean, like
know.
you know,
I know.
It just don't make no
Exhausting.
sense.
It's exhausting.